Because I can come up to the door and be like, hey, do you really see me? And they're like, what? And I'm like, do you have any seizures?
And you gotta do it. You gotta do it. Hey,
Oh,
yeah, we can accommodate you now.
You're right. You don't look like a cripple. I make jokes.
And it just... Interesting.
And it's been 10 years.
And still, and it just...
Yeah.
Every day is different.
Oh, yeah, because that's the unpredictability of MS, you know.
Besides the fact that I love music, I speak other languages, and communication is kind of important to me. And I feel like when I DJ, I can communicate with people. When I DJ, I communicate with people through my songs. So they get to know me through my songs. And everything that is me, right? So I can play like some Afro house, I can play Latin house, I can play gospel house, and all of that is within me. And so I think that's why I like to DJ. My way of communicating with people. This is the first Ron Trent song I ever bought.
And roughly what year was this, would you say?
99, 2000.
Okay.
So there's a funny story. You want to hear it?
Absolutely.
So I'm working at Gramophone. I'm all young and excited about life. And I find this record and I was like, oh, what? Wait a minute. Play the whole thing. Okay, I need a third go around. And I played it for a third time, and I was like, this is my record. I told the guy that I work with, this is my record. I love this record. Do you know about this record? This is a beautiful record. Why don't you have more remixes? Can I buy 2 He was like, calm down. Just buy this record, and then I'll pull some other stuff for you. I'm in the store. Oscar McMillan, one of my favorite DJs in the world, like Big Brother, like, and I'm working, and he's like, oh, Shani? That's my impression. Oh, hey, Shani, do you know who's in the store? No. I'm like putting records together. Ron Trent. Huh? For real? He's like, mm-hmm. Do you want to meet him? Mm-hmm. So he's like, hey Ron, this is Shani. She really likes this song, I Fight for What I Believe. And I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm Shani. I really love this song. And he goes into, you talked to him.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna stop you right there. I don't need to know all of that. I don't care where it was recorded. I don't care if you wrote some shit down on like a napkin at a cop. I don't care. I just want you to know that I love this record. And he looks at me and a smile like slowly appears and he's like, I like you. I go, yeah, Shani. Hi, I'm fucking Shani. Come on. This is a jam.
Well, let's talk about the influence a little bit of your show that you had in Chicago. Because a couple of people, they were like, it was significant. Ron Carroll specifically was like, yeah, I mean, it was a thing that it was being played and there was like a programming for it. How do you sort of see that, you know, your time at the station and, you know, where you fit into that picture, Chicago house and all that?
So Chicago is very, like there's North Side, South Side, West Side, and then everybody else, right?
Okay.
So house music comes from the South Side of Chicago.
Okay.
My father and my grandmother lived on the South Side. I was raised on the North Side. So there's two different kind of cultures. Like South Side is mainly black and Mexican if you go west, but mainly black. North Side is like European immigrants, immigrants from Central America, a lot of African, like a lot of Nigerians, a lot of Ethiopians, a lot of Desis, like a lot of Indians, Pakistani, Bangladesh
So it's like a
people.
real like melting pot situation.
Sure. A lot of Polish people. There's a huge Polish population in Chicago. So when you have those differences, there are certain areas that when you have those differences, it's not a bad thing, but when you have those differences, you have a different perspective on music, like how broad you can be or how narrow you can be.
Right.
Even though it started on the South Side, like I'm North Side, so, and I'm a former raver, so that's honestly where I come from. But then I realized that like I like the energy, but there's no soul. There's no soul in this rave music. I need soul. I grew up with my stepdad. There's been reggae and jazz and zydeco and funk my whole life.
Right.
There's always been a music room, every place that we lived. So like, I was like, I can bring all this stuff together and present it. There's some people that did not like it. This isn't house. This must be that North Side bull. Well, kind of. It's not bull, but like, I was very anti-disco. Back in the day.
Why?
Because my perspective was that disco music, people equated old school house and disco edits and stuff like that as the only thing that house music can be. And as a former raver, I was like, that's not true. Like, there's some other stuff. So I was very like, I kind of, for lack of a better phrase, kind of turned my back, because I was told that if I don't play disco, or if I don't play old school, if I don't play Larry Heard, if I don't play like stuff that came out when I was like 6,
Right.
I don't know nothing about house music. It's not very Texan.
No.
It's not. But I understand why. Because it's, in my opinion, like, it's an American art form. So there's hip hop, there's jazz, and there's house. And gospel. But in terms of like dancing stuff that's like not religious.
Right.
Yeah.
House was started by gay, black, brown men going to places that
women.
And women
Uh-huh.
that did not have,
Right.
you know, they didn't have places to go, so they made their own. You know, you got to make your own. You got to do your own stuff. You make your own things.
Yeah.
Make your own, go to your own places and things like that. And so, I've never went to like the warehouse or anything like that. So, you know, it's kind of like becomes an not just like a place to go, but also kind of an incubator for this music to see what's working and what doesn't work. And they stand fast to this orthodoxy versus somebody like you coming onto the situation and you kind of upsetting the orthodoxy.
I wasn't trying to. I don't want to hurt nobody. Ever. I just want to dance and laugh and have snacks and rinse and repeat.
Right.
But they're like, huh? Well, I guess I'm gonna go over here and do my thing.
Well, I think you come from a lineage. I mean, that's in all like these art forms too. Like hip hop is the same way. You know, if you go to New York, there's a certain type of New York hip hop music.
Oh yeah.
If you jazz, I mean, there's a long history of that, of a separation.
Yeah.
Right. Count Basie. Right, and with Duke Ellington, you know, so you have this separation of things, and like, well, whose side are you on? Are you on this side over here, or are you on this side over here? And then the lines are drawn where there don't necessarily need to be lines, but they make them anyway.
The older I've gotten, the more open-minded I have become. My goal was never to be like a working DJ. It was never my goal. My goal was to share music with people that weren't 21 or didn't know about house music, to present it to them. But when people started listening to the Groove Temple, they're like, do you want to play? And yeah, okay, I'll play. Not until I moved to Austin did I initiate like my annual events and like residencies and stuff like that. But no, that was never the plan. The plan was only to have a show that was outstanding and welcoming to all, and good house music, deep house music, not old school, kind of new school, sort of, but in the middle, like deep house, like Afro stuff with like a little tech house. I love acid house, so sure, I'll play some acid house. Yeah, it was never a goal to be a DJ, like a club DJ.
Like when you get up, you know, what is it? What is that? What is getting up? What is the experience?
Getting up is usually like a couple of alarms set because I love to sleep. I usually like to write out what I'm gonna do the following, like I write out at night what I'm gonna do the following day.
Right. I see you have you're very much about the schedules and these things.
Because I have to keep it together. Because if not, like, this is like the music stuff and the tech stuff, and you know, with the MS,
right.
Brain fog is a thing.
Is it?
Yeah. So like, I can't just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that right now. Boom. I can't do that.
So everything has to be very considered.
It has to be very considered. It has to be very planned. Like, especially like if my body is like, yeah, we're not doing that. So like I have to tell myself this is what's gonna happen, and then that tells my body, and then I'm like, okay, I gotta stretch. I gotta check the weather because if I get cold, I like lock up. Yeah. So anyway, so I wake up. Always have breakfast. I didn't have it today, but that's fine.
Do you usually you have to take like medications and all these things? Is that like
I don't take medications.
Okay.
I do.
Is that purposeful?
So I did once, and it was like, wasn't really doing anything.
Okay.
But at the same time, oh, watch out for the light. At the same time, it's like, I didn't give it like 6 months like I probably should have. But Spirit was like, you want to take that? Okay, you can take it. And I was like, all right, Spirit. Didn't feel anything. Then Spirit was like, why don't you just read the side effects? And I was like, you know what, Spirit? I'm going to do that. One of the side effects was, this may cause a brain tumor. And I was like,
that's enough.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that. So I started just like, you know, just eating gluten-free. And
were you kind of health conscious before, or did the diagnosis sort of kind of make you kind of zero in on your daily, your intake of food and what you drink and all this?
Yeah, so I wasn't raised with like white bread or like sugar, like soda, bologna. I don't think I've ever had a bologna sandwich. So do you see these people, right?
Yeah, I see you.
Fucking hippies. So after I got diagnosed, my mom was like, I've been on the internet. And you never want to hear that when your parent says, I've been on the internet.
The internet.
Or they hit you with the www.
Like they've gone to a place and...
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And she says, well, people with MS, they need to not drink alcohol and they need to not eat gluten. I said, I don't know about that alcohol, but I'm gonna try the gluten. So I was gluten-free for like 2 months just to see what it would do to my body.
Right.
I went to a meeting at Spider House with a photographer. We're talking, it's great. She's like, do you want something? I'm gonna get a Fireman's 4. I said, sure. We have a talk, like trying to figure out if she can like photograph my thing. And she's like, I'm gonna get another one. I said, cool. Do you want one? Yeah, sure, I'll take one. I take one sip out of the second one, and I lose complete control of the entire left side of my body. That was scary. I literally had to go like this to move my left arm.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you process that, okay? Okay.
What sort of your circumstances in landing in this city?
Sure. So I feel like people move to Austin for one of three reasons. Either work in tech, you want to get the album started for the band, or you move down here with someone. So I moved down here with someone, and we split. And I had a choice. Where do I go? I can go anywhere. Do I go back home? Do I go back to Chicago with all the cold? With the culture, the house culture, but the cold. Or do I go back to Europe? What do I do? Or do I go, or do I stay my butt here? So I decided to stay. And, you know, I had been like, hey, I'm a DJ. And people would be like, yeah, okay. I'd be like, no, really, I'm a DJ. Yeah, okay. No, but I know I had this show and like Derek Carter and Ron Trent and DJ Heather, and they'd be like, yeah, right. Okay. It was like a couple of years of me saying that to people. But I don't take it personal because who am I? I'm this new kid on the block. Just coming out of nowhere, making all these claims, you know. So I get it. And when Derek came here, when I moved here, I'll never forget this. He was playing at Lanai, and Derek is Derek. He's a wonderful person. Great DJ, great producer, all around stand-up guy. Everyone's like, Derek. He's very polite, so he's saying hi to everyone. He sees me and pushes everyone out of the way. He comes up and grabs me. What are you doing here? Why didn't you? Hi, Derek. That was the blessing and the curse of me living in Austin, because that was like, no, really, you see, I'm not lying. I know him. I know people. Why would I lie? There's no need for me. So that was it changed things where people were like, maybe we can believe her. Maybe we can trust her. I started playing around, you know. I joined a couple of crews just because I wanted to play, and like they were nice enough to let me join them, and good experiences, interesting experiences, and I eventually got to the point where I was like, I could probably do this on my own, right? So I just started doing things on my own. It was like the Groove Temple that I started in Chicago, but Austin style, in an Austin environment and in an Austin way. Because a lot of people don't, I'm sure everyone understands that people come to Austin and they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to fix it. You don't know how to do blah, 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 creatively speaking, whatever genre, painting, sculpture, whatever. I'm going to fix it. You guys don't know what you're doing. So I used to see that, and I was like, I don't want to be that person. I'm going to respect the space that I'm in. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to do some investigating, but I'm not going to fix anything. I'm going to be true to myself. And if people want to join me, okay. If they don't, okay, but they will. So that's kind of where I stood and still stand.
Okay. When were you first kind of aware that there's something going on?
Yeah. So the first Formula One, the first time Formula One was here, Chicken George was like, "Hey, you want to play this party for Formula One?" Absolutely.
Right.
I lived on Riverside, and I had that bike, and I was like, I'm just gonna ride my bike from Riverside to, it's like near Neon Grotto.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that when I was pushing down on my left side, like I was pushing with all my might, but like nothing was happening. I was like, that's weird. And then I think that was like November, and like December 30th, my stepdad gives me a call and says, "Hey, your mom is very sick. Can you come home?" And I was like, "Okay." Did she explain anything about that?
No, she did not.
Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, we talked mostly just about you. She didn't really involve herself. I think she actually was very she told me, she literally verbalized that I want to be very intentional about how I don't want to involve myself in that.
She sent me like 3 text messages where I would have to scroll 3 times, and it's like, "What do you want me to say?" I was like, "I don't know, I'm not the writer. Just answer the question."
Right.
"What do you want me not to say?" "I don't know. I am not the writer." Anyway, so she got really sick. I went home. She got really sick. Like really sick. Like we were like, is she gonna be around? That's how sick she got.
Oh wow.
And I hadn't lived in Chicago in a long time, and I considered myself Texan, like, where the breakfast tacos at? Texan,
Right.
So I went home at the end of December, and I was like, oh shit, it's cold.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't have a winter jacket.
Yeah.
Oh, this is okay. Like
It's brick
bacteriality.
outside.
Yeah. And then I became like kind of like a medical power of attorney, like representative, financial, because she was just like it was bad. And then my eyes started doing something weird. Like I could look out and I could see color, but there was always like a rectangle within my field of vision that was black and white, pixelated, but not in squares like normal pixelation,
Right.
but circles. And I was like, did I take drugs today? I don't do drugs. What is happening? Like,
Right.
I can't, like, it was so, and just imagine like looking straight and the peripheral of what you see is in color and what you're focused on is black and white. That was like the craziest thing I've ever experienced. And then I started walking weird. I had like a little limp, and I was like, where's this limp coming from?
Was it all this kind of sudden, or was it kind of okay? So it was a sudden thing.
Yeah, it was sudden.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went home. I started doing weird stuff. Then I started walking funny. And I was staying with a homegirl of mine from like mid 90s, and she's like, "What's wrong with your leg?" I was like, "I have no idea." And she's like, "You should go to urgent care." I went to urgent care, and this is a young doctor. He's very proud of all his information, his knowledge. He's like, "You had a stroke?" And I was like, "No, I didn't." I literally told him, I was like, "No, I didn't have a stroke." Because I was like, I can move like everything except for my leg.
Right.
So he gave me a note. I didn't have insurance at the time. And he gave me a note, like a top priority kind of note. I went to the public hospital. Because of that note, I waited 12 hours instead of 24 to get seen. Ron Carroll came and brought me some very unhealthy food, and I gobbled it up because I was starving and I didn't know what was happening.
Right.
They gave me a CAT scan, Never forget, there's a black doctor trying to talk to a Latino man who didn't really speak English. And I'm sitting there and I was like, I got you. So I can't do anything on my left side at this point, but I'm like interpreting, like, okay, this is what, my first degree is in Spanish, so, and I don't speak like, ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Joder. Vámonos. So I was talking to him, blah, 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 blah. They do the CAT scan. It's done. They bring me back to the room. They're like, we found some abnormalities in your frontal right lobe. And I was like, bet. Can you just give me something? Friday night. Nah, we're not discharging you right now. We're going to keep you. What? Yeah, something ain't right. They wake me up at like 6 or 7 in the morning. I get my first MRI. I am terrified.
Yeah, I've had a few. When I had that accident about a year and a half ago, I've had like, 4 MRIs, and every time it's a machine, you know. So how was that first MRI for you?
So I consider myself a pretty spiritual person.
Right.
And I was very scared, and I didn't know what was happening, and just crying, like, and I'm not claustrophobic, but I was like, this is some like crazy. Crying, praying, and I saw all of my ancestors holding hands outside of the MRI. I was like, it's gonna be okay. It's probably gonna be fucked up, but they're here. It's gonna be fine. I can't believe how loud it was. 7 in the morning, one doctor, 6 medical students, like all come into my little room, and I'm like, what's happening? Doctor didn't have the best bedside manner. He basically goes like this, yeah, Miss Hébert, that's not how you say my name.
Right.
Miss Hébert, we have some bad news. You have multiple sclerosis. Eventually you'll become incontinent. You won't be able to live by yourself. You're gonna have to be on medication. You might need radiation and chemotherapy, depending on the severity of it. Does anyone else have it? And I was like, and I started politely, gently calling him out of his name, because I was like, how are you just gonna you're gonna die from this shit, okay, bye. Like, what?
That's cold.
Super cold.
Wow,
Cold.
That's. I consider you into this. Obviously, you're in the creative class that's here. You know, this very vibrant creative class, but also a creative class that is migrating outward, away from Austin. A lot of people moving. Not even so much even just away generally to Houston or whatever they go, but just like right outside of Austin. You know, they move into Bastrop or Round Rock where I live, or, you know, wherever. The city kind of does this thing where they use the creative class as sort of a selling point,
Right.
but they don't actually do a whole lot to sustain their creative class. You know, keep Austin weird, live music capital. There's all these kind of marketing jargon that's not quite accurate anymore, because there's not really a support of this class in which you've built the city, at least publicly, on the backs of this creative class.
Yeah.
To that you say what?
I come from a family of artists, as you know. Right. So to gig every day, 3-4 times a week, that's normal. But what I think that Austin artists need to do more is to advocate for self,
Right.
and maintain agency, and not play a show for $50 and go to Health and Human Services and see what they can do. Go to HAM. Like, there's resources, but I think that a lot of people, artists specifically, sometimes we are not very business savvy or organized, or we're very curious, but we don't have like Like, for example, food stamps, I'm not getting food stamps. Okay.
So there's a pride issue.
There's a total pride issue. But there's a lot of programs for people in Austin, and there's ways to like, I grew up working class, you know. I grew up poor, like like we never lived in the projects, but like just a couple steps up, you know what I mean? So like I know how to survive. And I don't think that a lot of artists here understand like just basic level survival in a growing city.
Right.
Like I don't think they get that.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the people they don't understand the scratching and clawing. They want to be the artist.
But how you gonna make your art if you can't eat or you don't have a place to stay?
That's true.
And your homie's couch does not count.
It doesn't count. You're king.
What about it?
Let's see it.
Oh. And I was like, is it in strap?
It is now. So.
Ta-da! Yeah, look at that. DJ Shani.
An important part of your life now is pain represents certain things. Explain a little bit just about your learning of it and how it informs your life now.
I've had it for 10 years now. On my good days, I forget that I have it because I don't need my cane. I just walk outside and just do my thing. On my bad days, it's like if I could glue it to my face, I would do it. You know, in addition to me trying to inform and educate people about house music, in doing that, the mobility impaired are people too, right? So anytime that I have I produce an event, I gotta make sure people with wheelchairs, canes, and walkers are welcome to the boogie, because that's what house music is about. It's about prayer, peace, love, unity, and respect, and that means for everybody. Again, we don't care what you look like. We don't care how much you make. But it's a blessing, though it can be a curse occasionally. I think that and I was an athlete and I did soccer, softball, I used to box, fence, all the things, right? But when you go from that to having to learn how to walk again and not being able to use your limbs and like maybe not being able to see, you get a little time to like, first you get some good sleep. Let's just start there, okay? Oh, sleep is so good. So you get good sleep, and then you kind of have to reassess, right? Like, so what can I do so that I am not falling down? Or what can I do in my house so that I am more comfortable, right? So you do those things. As a DJ, I'm not bringing speakers to your party. I don't even want to bring my equipment to your party. If I must, I will, but I feel like I'm rambling. Yeah, I totally lost my train of thought. And that's another thing that happens with MS. You have brain fog.
So what I'm going to do is steal. I like to steal things that I think are great ideas. And one of my favorite interview shows of all time is Inside the Actors Studio.
Oh, I love it.
Hosted by James Lipton. And he stole a questionnaire concept. So I'm stealing something that he stole from a French television personality, Bernard Pivot, on his show called Apostrophes. And it's called the Proust Questionnaire. And we're going to run through that. What is your favorite word?
Yes.
What is your least favorite word?
Can't.
Expound on that.
I mean, can't is like, you could do it. Can't is like a cheap way of saying impossible. But things are possible. You just have to, it's just like when you deal with black hair. You got to work with the hair. You got to, you know what I'm saying? You can do it. You can do it. You can't? What are you talking about? You just need patience.
I'm going to add on to that. Use the word patience. Is that something you had before, let's say, the MS diagnosis? Like, did it tame certain things? Were you sort of like, I need to get somewhere, I need to do this, and then the diagnosis perhaps maybe slowed you down in any kind of way? I'm curious at how it changes, not just like your physical self, but how it also manifests itself emotionally in certain things that maybe you used to do that now change out of that.
Before the diagnosis, I was in a really good place of being, my grace cup was filled, my patience cup was filled, my hope cup was filled. And I'm very thankful that all of those cups were already filled, because if they had not been filled, I really don't think we would be talking right now. It's taught me to slow down. It taught me to breathe. It's taught me the value of meditation. It's taught me the value of prayer and talking to your ancestors. Without those last two, I don't even know. Like, I would be in a bad way if I wasn't, studying on, about Ifa and meditating and like taking and eating well and not, I always slip up if you talk to me about P. Terry's, because it's going down. But generally speaking, it's forced me to be a pretty kind of healthy person. I'm a child of Ivy League educated Black revolutionary hippies. So no white bread in our house, no bologna, no white sugar, So and I'm so thankful for that I had that as a foundation. So I was able to go back to that, and it wasn't that much of a stretch. It was more like an eye roll, like, ugh, spike, okay, ugh, fruit leather, okay, so like, but I'm glad that I had that foundation. Yep.
All right, going back directly to the questionnaire, what turned you on?
There's so many things. The PG answer would be, just one thing?
It can be two things.
Okay. Can I do three?
Sure.
Okay. A fantastic meal, an adequate amount of sleep, and a song that like realigns your chakras. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What turned you off?
How much time do you? No, I'm just kidding. Fear and cowardice. Being a coward, just being a coward. I don't like that. It's a super turn off.
That feels very specific.
No, I mean, no. Because if you're a coward, then you are fearful of being honest with yourself. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
What sound or noise do you love? What sound or noise do you hate?
Anything that, like when you go to a restaurant and they don't have like felt on the bottom of their chairs or tables and it's like scratches, like metal on metal, that I always want to flip over the table and just leave. It's the worst. Ugh, I don't like it.
What is your favorite curse word?
Oof.
And why?
Probably fuck. Because it can describe a myriad of things. Just like how when a woman says to another homegirl, bitch, 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 bitch. There's like many different, like, you know what I mean. But no, you can use it in any kind of situation.
Now, you are a DJ, but you also a tax professional.
That's true.
What profession outside of those two, other than your own, so those two, would you like to attempt? Maybe was there something now, or maybe was there something in the past that you would have liked to have tried as a profession?
There's a few. When I was in high school, I wanted to work in film and do like sound effects. So yeah, we'll just go with that.
What profession would you not like to do? And why?
I come from a family of teachers. Both of my parents were teachers. My grandmother was a teacher. My uncles were teachers. Absolutely not. I can teach anybody anything that I know, but there are certain, like, I don't think teachers get the respect that they deserve or the pay that they deserve. I'd be awesome. I'm a good teacher. I've taught people, I've taught ESL, I've taught tax classes, I've tutored different languages, taught people how to DJ, but like an actual, like, be in the school at 7:30 and absolutely not.
Branching off of that, I've noticed that a lot of artists, very talented artists, are the sons and daughters of teachers. Could you speak a little bit to that? Like, why do you think that that is?
Probably because it's a secure field. My dad was like, I always wanted to be a teacher. Why? Because I love gym. I love phys ed. He taught all the things. He coached all the basketball and was the ref at all the things. And even brought every school that he was a coach at, to like state championships. So he was that guy. He's like, but also you get the summers off and you still get paid. That might be helpful also, you know? You still get paid, you get to spend time with your kids, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I feel like I could be more impactful and make more money in other ways.
And this is the last question of the questionnaire. This is directly from the questionnaire. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You're about to make me cry. Then you're gonna see I'm a robot. Dang it. You did good, kid. Yeah. You did good. I was not expecting that at all. And I'm not like heaven might exist, you know, but it's not my path. Like there's, you know, there's no heaven, hell. There's like, well, it's complicated, but yeah, you did good. You did good with all of the challenges, with all of the naysayers, with all of the crazy, and you dealt with all of the things with class and grace. Wow. It's too early for me to be balling up in this piece, sir. But yeah, you did good. You did good. Yeah. Yep.